Hi everyone, it's Salia from Hustle Season, and today I want to talk about Wildcard by Marie Lu. I saw it pop up on a couple people's TBR and they were mentioning how they're worried to start it because they think it actually won't be good. So I'm not really sure what the consensus is, whether most people liked it or not, but I want to talk about it anyways because I really enjoyed it. There were some points, like some stuff that I personally noticed that I think might contribute to the people not liking it, but I haven't gone on Goodreads or anything, so I don't actually know, but I'm gonna kind of venture a guess as to why maybe some people might not like the second installment. Ooh. It's worth mentioning that I have not finished any of Marie Lu's other series, so I can't really compare it to like Legend or The Young Elites. In both of those series, I've only read the first book and then I never continued. Quickly, like non-spoilery-ish, I personally really liked the second book. I think that part of the reason that some people might not like it is because it's pretty different from the first book. Whether or not you'll like the second book, in my mind, depends on what about the first book got you hooked. For a lot of people, I think that it's the game itself, so like the idea of Warcross and watching how those like tournaments went down or how the duels, whatever, the matches, like how the games worked. If that's what you loved about Warcross, like if that was the thing that really sold you on it, that is not really present in Wildcard. There's not that many games. I think there's only one and it's not really set up, maybe two. There's two and they're not the conventional type of Warcross games you saw in the first one. So if it was just the games that got you hooked, you might not like the second one. I think too, even though it's really fast paced and it only takes place over like the course of a week or something, not as much physical stuff happens, if that makes sense. Like a lot of it is really just uncovering secrets, getting more information. It's almost more of like a mystery novel in that sense, like a undercover spy novel, if you will, as opposed to like a action-packed gaming kind of thing. In my opinion, the downfalls of this book, like if someone's not gonna like it, it's because the focus really shifts from the game and like the team of Phoenix Riders and like all those characters working together, and it goes way more into Amika and who Zero is and how he became Zero with the reveal of who Zero was, which I won't say, but based off of that, all the questions that you then had burning in your mind afterwards, Amika figuring that stuff out, I think is the bulk of this novel. Whereas the first book really gave an opportunity for the Phoenix Riders to shine. There were all these side characters. It was more about team building. It was more about how Amika learns to play the game. It was just like a different feel. If you go into this expecting like that same dynamic to be happening, like you got to keep in mind that the competition's over, so she's no longer in the middle of a tournament and that whole setup isn't going to be the main thing here. So if it was only that got you hooked to Warcross in the first place, I think that Wildcard might be a bit of a disappointment. But if it was more like you liked the characters and you were here to see them, you know, like discover some new things about themselves, to see whether or not Hideo and Amika can work things out after all the stuff that went down in Warcross, then I think Wildcard is actually a good book. Fast-paced in the sense that you're getting all this information very quickly, but I think that some people might actually find that a bit info dumpy. That is kind of my spiel on who I think may or may not like it. Now I'm just gonna get into like spoiler things and discuss stuff that I liked, stuff that I didn't like, and kind of explore some of the stuff I said a bit more in depth. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, please leave right now. Bye.
Goodbye, my love.
So I mentioned the idea of this one being a bit more info dumpy. There were only a few spots where I truly felt like it was info dumpy. I was like, whoa, how did we get here? And that was the one part where Tremaine stops Emmy outside of like the restaurant or wherever they were and is just suddenly like, do you know my past with Roshan? Like, do you know why we broke up or whatever? And she was like, no. And I just was like, why are you willingly just giving her all this information? But again, I didn't mind too much because I was really invested in the information that was being dumped on me. So I was happy to have that info dumped. But I felt like there could have been a way where she like uncovered it bit by bit. I realized after I finished the book that her and Tremaine don't actually work together as much as I thought they were going to work together initially. So I guess that's why that happened. And then the other time that I felt like it was a bit disjointed was when the whole team came together at the end to defeat Zero. Maybe like I wasn't paying attention, but I just like didn't understand how they suddenly all understood and knew how to beat him. It just felt like we wanted to throw in a Warcross game for a last hurrah at the end. Like, I didn't really understand why it needed to be styled the way a Warcross game was. Maybe that was just me, but I just kind of felt like that part was maybe slightly forced to get that whole feeling of the team reuniting one last time for one last heist or like one last job just before everything ends. If I suspended my disbelief as to why it was happening, I was invested in the moment. Actually, the whole final scene gave me like hardcore Sailor Moon vibes. I think it's the end of the first season where as they're all like progressing towards fighting Queen Beryl, each one of them sort of dies, and then as they die, Sailor Moon's standing there like thinking of the memories she had with each one of them. And to me, that whole scene at the end where they were fighting Zero was like that, because each one of them, as they get infected, the world would take on whatever memory was like most prominently on the forefront of their mind. As that's happening, she's remembering what made her love each and every one of them to begin with.
My friends are counting on me.
Hey, Serena, I'll help you with this assignment if you want. You are so stubborn, Serena. Let us help or I'll never speak to you again.
Yeah, let us help you put her away. Still too many guys we gotta meet.
Let us help. We haven't known each other long enough for it to end yet.
I do need all of you. Please, help me.
Overall, I think I liked this book more than the first one, if only because I found Zero as a character just so fascinating. When it's revealed that he's not even real, like I had chills. Maybe I should have seen it coming, but also like I did not think that's where it was gonna go. Everything that I thought was real isn't real, and it makes you question everything. Like, it just literally blew my mind. And it just like took this book from being like this fast-paced fun fantasy thing to like this hardcore sci-fi suddenly. Now AI is involved. I was like so sad because I truly was such a huge Sasuke fan, and to then learn that he's not even really a person-ish, like it was a lot to handle. I think it was also super interesting to see Amika and Hideo and their relationship. Seeing Amika struggle with loving Hideo but then also hating his guts and being so against the things that he's doing, and just like constantly seeing whether or not she's going to give into it, whether she'll hold her ground, whether she'll be with him or won't be with him. Like, at what point is she going to draw the line and say that like, no, Hideo, you're a bad guy. I can't be with you. Is she ever gonna do that? I think it'd be really hard for any character to not want to just turn a blind eye. It was very like mature of her to just be able to recognize when Hideo was being like morally wrong, and how that didn't always mean that he was a bad guy on the inside, and for her to just see his intentions so clearly all the time, and to, despite everything, always have this belief that he'll be okay. I do think Hideo, like, his privilege came in a little bit, but I was like happy to see that at the end of the day there were consequences for his actions and they were addressed, and he went to jail or whatever. I mean, it was home arrest or house arrest, so really for what he did I don't think he paid that steep a price. And I think that even if he had gone to jail, like, I don't think his image was as tainted as it could have been. It was nice to see that Amika, despite everything, like at the end of the day still wanted to support him, and she still at the end decided to come show him how much good the Neuralink had done, as opposed to like focusing on the negative. So it was like this strange balance of like, she was this really harsh teacher person, like she had this harsh line of like, you cannot do this, it's wrong, but at the same time she was so willing to support him, and she was so willing to see the good in him when others didn't, when he didn't. Amika's just so cool in that regard. Like, I think even her flaws just make her better. You know what I mean? Like, not letting people in, really. Another thing that I thought was kind of cool too was that the book sort of does explore a lot of heavy topics. It doesn't go deep into any of them in my opinion, but it does like just hint at them, and like if you want to, you can sit down and ponder what they mean. The morality of what Hideo was doing, and how like technology is a tool, and it's really how you use that technology. Like they say, guns don't kill people, although I don't know if you can say that anymore. But it was interesting also at the end to see that they were saying that you can't go back, because they stopped the Neuralink. People went back in time sort of to before the Neuralink, and you could just see like this incredible absence of something so vital in their life. It like got me thinking for a second. I was like, what if we suddenly didn't have phones or the internet? What would I do? Literally, like, it would change everything, and I couldn't see it happening. I mean, I wouldn't be miserable. I'd learn to live with it, it, but it would suck so bad. Also, there's like this whole undercurrent of just like grief and grieving in these books that I was able to relate to in some ways, and it was so heartbreaking to see. Like, there were so many scenes with Hideo and Zero. When you attain all these incredible things, when you put all this time into something, when you spend so many hours dedicated to something, and all in the name of like you finding your brother or because of this one reason, and then to be able to get that but it's not exactly the way you wanted, it was just like moments like that always kill me. So the part where Sasuke, his mind is like set free from being Zero, and Hideo's able to talk to Sasuke, but Sasuke is still stuck as the 6 or what, like little kid he was before he got lost. So heartbreaking. And he's just like asking Hideo, like, why are you so tall if you're my brother? Oh my god. And there's this one really, really awesome line, and that's when I realized that at the end we'd all wish for the same thing, just a little more time. And I was like, oh my god. I was in a coffee shop when I was reading that, and it like just hit me. We just want like those good memories to last a little bit longer. A good reminder to always be thankful for what you have, to know that you don't have this endless amount of time. It feels like that when you fall into a routine. You should take the time to appreciate the things you have. Put in the effort to spend time with others. Put in the effort to do the things that you love that you always keep putting to the side, because you'll wake up one day and you're just gonna wish that you had more time to have done that. It was just such a beautiful message. When she finally gets rid of the Neuralink, she writes, "In spite of everything I'd seen and all I knew about what was wrong with the Neuralink, I'm sad without it. Hideo had created something that changed all of our lives, often for the better. It was a creation that had probably saved my life, and yet here I am. Maybe I should feel like a hero, but I don't. It's always easier to destroy than create." And I was like, damn. Which is another one that just kind of hit me, because I was like, well, I guess it's no surprise, but like on BookTube, there's so many videos about like staying creative and like not being afraid to put stuff out there and making videos and just being yourself and not worrying about views or numbers or being scared to put something out there. And it was just such a nice reminder to know that you might get haters, you might get people say this or that, you might get support. Like either way, it's easier for them to just judge you and to possibly bring you down than it is for them to get behind the camera and to make something themselves. And it's always going to be harder to be the creator. It's always going to be harder to make something of nothing and put yourself in that vulnerable position and take the time and the effort to do that. It'll always take more effort to create, and we shouldn't give up because of that. You should be proud of yourself, whatever it is that you make. And finally, just kind of the question of what it means to be human and whether or not Sasuke was human or not. I thought that was really interesting as well, because a part of him, even though he had become this data and AI, a part of him still lived on. And there were pieces of him that were uniquely him, despite the fact that he had now become data. It was interesting to see how the other people could still interact with him and get the same feelings from it, which is another thing too, is like, Amika brought up a couple times, she's like, it doesn't matter that he's data or not. What matters is that when the actual living people look at him, see him, interact with him, they feel like it's real. And sometimes that feeling is more important than what truly is real. Actually, similarly, because I'm reading A Conjuring of Light right now, one of the main characters says something similar with regards to like the bad guy in the third book. He says that it doesn't matter like whether or not someone is a god or is this or that. It's like if they think they're a god, if they feel like they're a god, they're gonna act like they're one. And that's what's important. And that was kind of, yeah, this is pointless, but I just want to say like that was also had a similar concept or theme. But anyways, sometimes it's the impact or the way it makes someone feel or the effect it has on people. So it might not be real, but if it gives them the satisfaction of thinking it's real, then, you know, maybe it is real. And I think like you could use that whole argument for the Neuralink itself, because it's not real, but people use it in a way that makes it real, and somehow like the technology submerges, or not submerges, but it interacts with like real life and it becomes one with reality in some weird way, and like they kind of interlock and it blurs the lines a bit is what I'm trying to say, I think. And it was interesting to see how Zero was another manifestation of that. And even like at the end, like after he's become Sasuke, it was cool to see that like Jack still gets phone calls from him and that he like checks in on Amika to find out if she'll take the position as for Henka Games, if she's gonna go help. And it was just cool to see that like he wanted to just check in and like she talks to him like he's a friend, and it's just cool because like, is AI a pet? Is it a person? Are they real? I don't know. It like suddenly got very sci-fi and like just very deep. It grounded the book a little and it gave it some like meat to it, you know what I mean? So I like that. Okay, so those are my short thoughts on Wildcard. I really liked the direction that the story took in the second book. I liked how she kind of became this undercover cop and it became more of a sort of almost thriller as she's uncovering secrets but trying not to get found out, and she plays both sides and she's kind of teetering between the two and debating on who she wants to to betray in the end, and whose side is she really on? I could have seen more of the Phoenix Riders in this book. They like just weren't really in this one, and they were such a key part of it, especially I think because at the end they came in and kind of saved the show a little and supported her in the end. So I think I would have liked to have seen them a bit more prominently throughout the book. She kind of just gives up on, or not, she doesn't give up on them, but they're kind of just not there. They're a little bit there in the background, but not really, but kinda, but they want to help. You know they want to help, especially in the first book with Hammy and Amika and how they've kind of become friends. I thought Amika sort of learned to let people in, and so I definitely thought we would see a bit more of the Phoenix Riders in this book, but we didn't until the very end, which was kind of a shame because it was really fun to see how Amika plays off of all of their personalities. Because Amika's really serious, and like Hideo's super serious too. So I think it balances out when they have a bit more of a foil in the books. I mean, I guess Jax was kind of the new one. For me, it wasn't enough of a foil. I think I would have liked the Phoenix Riders to have been more a part of this book, but otherwise, I really liked it. I loved seeing Amika grow. I loved seeing Hideo grow. I loved seeing everybody's interactions together. I liked the very small amounts of Warcross games that we were able to see. I definitely like kind of missed it. Let me know down below what you thought of Wildcard, if you liked it, if you hated it, etc., etc. And I'll see you soon. Bye!